In this video, we are looking at examples of positions and techniques that should be avoided when riding a studio cycle. Some of these are actually potentially dangerous, whilst others are simply ineffective. They all need to be avoided. Pedaling in a way where the knees cross over the midline is a very common fault that riders will do. Often it's due to not having enough resistance, or actually they don't realize they're doing it. So you need to continuously cue your riders to ensure that they don't cross the midline with their knee. Use a positive terminology such as keep your knees above your toes. Bouncing in the saddle is another very common mistake that people make in cycle classes. Generally, it's due to not having enough resistance applied onto the bike. As you can see, we're jumping up and down, bouncing up and down on the saddle. This is actually quite uncomfortable, so it should be discouraged. It's also ineffective. If you're bouncing up and down like this, it effectively means you don't have enough resistance. You need to apply more resistance on the bike. This next fault goes in scales. You can have a little bit of it and it's not a problem. But when it becomes much greater and more obvious, it starts to become counterproductive. Rocking from side to side is something that people will often do because they're enjoying the music. But as it starts to increase, you can actually see that their joints are being pushed towards, or in fact across the midline of the body. It starts to shift the knees across the midline, and effectively we're in a very poor position to generate force down through the pedals. It's best avoided. This is one of the techniques that we discourage. You may have seen this used in other classes, but effectively what's happening is the weight is being driven forwards into the knee joint excessively. Some instructors may use this technique simply because it causes an awful lot of localized muscle pain, which they see as a good thing. But actually, it's counterproductive and is likely to at best put your riders off and at worst injure them. Whenever you're riding the bike, it's really important you keep a solid grip on the handlebars at all times. Some instructors will actually use this technique telling their riders that it's improving their balance. But to be honest, it's actually causing a greater risk of injury because they're not holding onto the bars and therefore they're not stable on the bike. It should be avoided. This hover technique actually originates from road riding, where you ride a bike outdoors. However, the reason it's used outdoors is because you come out of the seat and rock the bike from side to side to generate more power for a short period of time. Studio bikes do not rock from side to side, so you don't get the same effect. The only thing that happens when you hover on a studio bike is you get an awful lot of localized muscle pain. For some people, this might be fun, but for a lot, it's very undesirable and puts them off. Tapbacks are an invention of group cycle instructors who like to inflict pain upon their riders. They're usually done by counting 4 back, 4 forwards, 2 back, 2 forwards, etc. All they really do is cause a lot of localized pain and very, very poor technique through the upper body. They have no physical benefit and are highly likely to put riders off, especially when they're starting out as a group cycle participant. Push-ups done on the ground are a highly effective exercise to developing strength in the chest, arms, and torso. Push-ups done on a group cycle are totally ineffective and should be avoided. The body position simply doesn't load the arms and chest in any way, and taking the face towards the handlebars in this manner could potentially be dangerous. It's not unusual to see some instructors using reverse pedaling as part of their warm-up or cool-down drills. They will use it with the excuse that it engages your hamstrings. Unfortunately, this is really not that effective at engaging the hamstrings, and there's no benefit to it. In fact, you're more likely to damage the bike by going backwards than you are enhance your muscles. It should be avoided. You will sometimes see instructors encourage their cyclists to pedal with just one leg. They'll tell their riders that the reason for this is to strengthen that leg. However, the risk is not worth the reward. This should be avoided at all times.